Right, so this is a 7-day trip with quite a few games, so I've wrote these down again so I don't forget to any of them while I'm reading them out. So here we go. First is United women versus Leicester women, and then United versus Fulham, and then we've got Fans United versus FC United, and then we've got Huddersfield versus Wrexham, and then we've got Stockport under 19s versus FC United under 19s. And then the other piece of paper will come off the table. We have got Metrogas versus Kent United, and then we have got Real Sociedad versus Man United, and then we've got Hearts versus Dundee, Wrexham under 18s versus Shrewsbury under 18s, and finally, and then we've got Wrexham versus Rotherham, and then finally we've got United women versus Sundaland women. So quite a full 7 days. There are some incredibly tight connections in this trip. If it all works out, it will be an amazing trip, but there are some incredibly tight connections and definitely a lot of room for error, so it could work out as a disaster, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a good trip. Being able to leave Wrexham early on a Sunday, I was forced to go into Manchester to drop my bag first because of the extra time penalties possible for the FA Cup game against Fulham. I was worried about missing the last train to London, so I decided to go into Manchester first and to drop my bag before heading to Lee. Now, because I couldn't leave Wrexham till 8:15 in the morning, that means I didn't have time to get a bus from Manchester to Lee. I couldn't have gone to Lee first because then I'd have still had my bag to go to Old Trafford, which would have been no good, because I couldn't have afforded the time to wait to queue up to get my bag back at the luggage drop at Old Trafford, as I then would have missed the train to London. So the only option was to go to Manchester first and drop my bag and then get a taxi to Lee, which is obviously more expensive than the bus, but on this occasion was the only way around doing things. So I did that by using Stasher, which they are a cheap luggage firm that work with all kinds of management businesses in cities, and you can drop your bags at these. This one in particular is the Premier Inn they work with in Manchester, just by the Piccadilly station there. So I used that to drop my bag before I headed off down to Lee. Before I had to get the bus to Stansted, but enough for a quick sleep, shower and change and make some food for the next day. before heading off on what is probably the hardest part of the journey with the most chance of error, with the timings being so close, but we'll see how he gets on. So I get there to the airport in Podgorica, and as you can see by this little video here, it is all glass, and it was a really bright day. Now with my aniridia, I've got no iris, so I cannot regulate the amount of light that comes into my eye, so you can imagine how painful this can be. Not only that, but anything that is obviously like a screen to see, and that is completely black due to the dazzling of the light shadowing everything and making like screens and that completely impossible to see. Now there are a couple of ways around this. If you get your phone, take a picture of the screen, sometimes you can see through that, but again it's a grainy image sometimes because of the camera's having the same issue as your eyes are. But on this occasion I was able to do that and see which gate I was at. But alternatively, you've got a couple of other options. Obviously you can always listen out on the tannoy. On this occasion the woman was quite accented and the tannoy was quite tinny, so it was quite impossible to hear what gate. There was another option here as well, because I didn't have to check in online because it was checking at the actual airport. You were going through one queue, so you knew who you were going to get on the flight with, so it was just a case of checking around where those people were as well. So that would have been another option as well. And obviously you always got the last option of asking as well, but I'm a really fiercely independent person, and most people in my situation are probably the same and like to get things done themselves, but obviously that was always a last option as well. Anyway, the picture thing worked, and I was able to find a little corner to sit in behind a pillar that was shadowed until the flight was ready to go. So everything worked perfectly with the flights, and I was able to drop my bag at the hostel in Manchester before heading to Huddersfield. So we're at Manchester Piccadilly station. I had a few problems with my Uber account because I hadn't used it for a while. They want me to re-verify myself. The problem is I've changed my passport since my last verification. They keep denying it. Anyway, I went to one of the Uber green hubs to try and sort it out, but they wouldn't help me. They're only to do with taxis. Anyway, cut a long story short, that's where I've been this morning in Manchester. And now, because I've used all that time to do that, I'm probably going to end up having to get a taxi down to get this FC United under-19s game in at Stockport Sports Village. But I thought it would be worth it because I thought I would get that sorted. So I thought in the long run it would probably be worth a couple of quid extra in a taxi. However, probably hasn't been in the end. But
one thing I did forget to bring with me is my blow-up pillow, which I'm going to need for sleeping on the floor in Bilbao Airport in a couple of days. So I thought I'll buy one from Argos in Manchester. So I bought it last night online, only £8, so I thought that's fantastic, do that. Anyway, pick it up, Piccadilly Sainsbury's, so brilliant. Just been there now on the way back to do, and that's not there either, so blinking egg. Anyway, I was looking at the Under-19s League, and Oldham are also at home this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So rather than do the cheap train and go straight after this 11 o'clock kick-off, I'm going to go across to Oldham and do that Under-19s, and I'm going to come back here, pick the pillow up and get the later train, which is a bit more expensive, probably an extra £20, and I'm going to get that later train down to London, drop my bag, and then go to the Metrogas game tonight. So I just arrived at this second game of the day, and the extra game, which is Oldham Under-19s A versus South Shields Under-19s. So the first slight error times-wise with the train into London was late, which meant I had to go straight to Metrogas rather than drop my bag at the hostel. So after the game, I went back to the hostel and had less time than I'd have really liked, but I managed to get changed and have a shower and make my food for the next day before heading back out to get the National Express up to Stansted Airport. I also had an hour on the bed as well, so that was good. Well, going to the airport and sleeping in the airport originally looked like it was going to be difficult. I got in there and was setting myself up on a bench, and then this police guy come talking away in Spanish, and it was really like, oh, no English. Anyway, he rounded everybody up, stuck everybody in a lift, and he's yammering away in Spanish, no words of English. And he's talking to the ones that obviously can speak Spanish, takes us down to the car park, and I'm thinking he's just going to kick us out here. And then he takes us into like the car rental place, opens the door, and there's like all sofas in there, and basically what he's trying to say is you can't stay in the airport, that's locked till 4 o'clock or whatever, and you can sleep in here, which it was really warm in there, and there was loads of sofas, so we all had sofas to sleep on. It was great, so that worked out really well. So the following morning I was able to get up and go into the disabled toilet, which was right next to where I'd been sleeping, and obviously in there they've got a larger room and a wash basin and all that in there as well, so I was able to have a wash. Now what I'd done before I left London was I'd left my large bag at the hostel I'd been staying at, and well, I say my large bag, my normal rucksack, my normal red rucksack, but I'd also taken a string bag as well with me, which I then put in my blow-up pillow, and I put in some boxes and some socks, and I also put in one of the little deodorant wipes, and also these, which are they're like for camping really. What they are, they're like dried soap on a tissue. You can like just put them under a tap or into water, you know, and they like foam up, and you can wash yourself with those. So I took those with me as well, and a little flannel as well to dry myself off after. So I was able to have a stand-up wash really in the disabled toilet there. I also take 2 little blue overshoes, so when you're standing naked in the toilet and that, which obviously the floor is sometimes not the cleanest actually in that toilet, it was perfectly fine, but I can put the overshoes on as well, so as not to get mucky feet from the floor. But anyway, so I wash myself with these, which they are great. Obviously don't take up any space, they're just like little tissues, you can just take them with you. So I use those, and I was able to have a wash and get changed, ready for the next day, because obviously I was going to be out all day again the next day. Once I got back to London, I went back to the hostel to pick my other bag up, and I was able to use the facilities there just to make myself some food for the day ahead, and just put my 2 bags back together as one, so that was useful, and then I headed off to Edinburgh. The hostel I was in Edinburgh was not one of my usual ones. I normally try and stay up by Haymarket, close to Arts' ground, but unfortunately, because the rugby was on and that's that end of the city as well, Scotland played Wales in the Six Nations on the following Saturday, I just wasn't able to get anywhere at a reasonable price, and most things were already booked up anyway, so I stayed all the way over on the other side of the city centre in Leith in a hostel there, so I had to get a bus out there, although it was quite a nice hostel to be fair, but unfortunately quite out of the way, but it served a purpose for the evening. So I ended up back in Wrexham on time after the early morning trains, so that was all great. So I then got a lift up to Gresford and Colliers Park, where the under-18s game was taking place. I was also able to get rid of my bag, as it was my wife that gave me a lift, so I was able to leave the bag in the car. So the only way up to get up to the last game was to get a lift again. My wife kindly gave me a lift just to watch the second half of the Manchester United women versus Sundaland women FA Cup match. So that's it for this trip. 1,047 spent. I know that sounds a lot, but considering the amount of travelling I did, I think I did quite well really. The biggest expense was that flight back to Manchester via Istanbul at £235, but it was 2 flights and it was the only way I was going to get back to do that Wrexham game, so I did pay more than I normally would. The other ones, I think the highest paid for any of the other flights was about £66, so did quite well at that. That one flight really did catch me out, but 230 for 2 flights, so you're only looking about just over £100 a flight there. So again, considering the distance I was going, not too bad really. Fantastic trip, everything worked on time, and fabulous to do all those games, so I was really pleased with that, and really enjoyable trip. Couple of other things to add before I end the video. So the reductions that you can see, I got a refund for that train that was late into London before the Metrogas game, so it was about half an hour. Regarding this video, I know it's been a long time since I did one. I did have one up which I don't think has worked quite well prior to this one for my last trip. There was some issues with the editing software, and this is why this one's been delayed and is maybe not up to standard as well, this one, as I had to get used to some new software, which the other one broke down halfway through doing this video, and obviously affected the picture quality on the last video as well. Apparently I think there's quite a bit of blank video when it actually went live on YouTube, so sorry about that, but I couldn't get it to come back, so we've just had to leave that video as it is, but this video should work fine on the new software there, and hopefully catch up a bit now because I'm a couple of videos behind now, but hopefully I can catch up with those. Now this seems to all be working well once I finish editing this video, but as I say, a fabulous trip, and I hope you enjoyed the video.